Claude Sonnet 4.6 is finally here. We had Claude Opus 4.6 be released, but we didn't have Sonnet 4.6. But now it's finally here and it's actually making major waves. One of the major things is Claude Sonnet 4.6 is their most capable sonnet yet, which of course is the next version, so it makes sense. But Claude Sonnet 4.6 also has a million token context window, so it's able to understand a lot more data at a time. As well as, even with the improved enhancements that we're about to get into, Claude Sonnet 4.6 actually doesn't cost any more than Claude Sonnet 4.5, meaning that you're getting more power for the same cost with a larger context window. And why this matters so much is basically like Claude Sonnet 4.5 is optimized now, because with 4.6 having a million token context window, it's able to digest a lot more information. Let's say that Claude Sonnet 4.5 was able to digest an entire book, which is really good. Claude 4.6 Sonnet, let's say, can do a whole trilogy, whole series, novels of books. That's a huge improvement if you're trying to iterate over more data, and it's going to be very beneficial when we get later on into what Claude Sonnet 4.6 is actually probably best at, even being out Opus 4.6 and ChatGPT 5.3. Of course, with Claude Sonnet 4.6 is actually improving on its coding skills, because the Claude series of models are probably the best coding models out there. At least that's a general consensus. You can go back and forth between ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude depending on which model. Even open source like MinMax, which actually had strong improvements recently, Kimi K2, and then you always know DeepSeek is somewhere out there looming, right? But Claude seems to be the consensus and the one that does really good at coding. It says also improved in consistency, instruction following, and more. And what we've been seeing is this trend in AI where instead of it just being good at coding, we've seen this with ChatGPT, Gemini, and of course Claude, is that they're doing more office tasks, which are basically PowerPoint skills, Excel skills, and kind of writing skills. And so they say 4.6 is really good, and it's available with Claude Sonnet 4.6. And one of the major things that we're going to dig a little bit more into is how good it is at computer use. If you don't know what that is quite yet, it's okay. We're going to get there. But what a lot of these models also have been doing is doing a lot of safety evaluation, trying to handle prompt injections, as well as instruction following, trying to make sure it doesn't go rogue. And it seems like 4.6 has those same type of improvements that Opus also has. And you know, one of the best things about this is that Sonnet 4.6, as of now, is available for your free tier, where you have Opus 4.6 kind of paywalled behind the higher tiers when it comes to Claude. 4.6 is literally the default now if you go to Claude right now. Here they talk about how in October 24 they introduced general purpose computing, or computer use model. There's a benchmark called the OS World, the standard benchmark for AI computer use, shows how far our models have come, where we see that Opus 4.6 is actually really good at computer use. They said across 16 months, the Sonnet models have made steady gains in OS World. The improvements can also be seen beyond benchmarks. They said early Sonnet 4.6 users are seeing human level capability in tasks like navigating a complex spreadsheet or filling out multiple step web forms before pulling in all together across multiple tabs. So if it's human level, then we are average human level at this point in time. They said the model still lags behind the most skilled humans at using computers, but their progress is remarkable nonetheless. And we see here where it has the computer use benchmark that they just talked about, the Claude Sonnet OS World and OS World verified scores over time, where we see that Sonnet 3.5 was, of course, new where it started out at, and this is where Sonnet 4.6 is at. Started below 20 and it's over 72 right now, which is crazy. 2-year time span, and it's over tripled how well it can use computers, being at a average level human as of now, which is pretty good. And you gotta think about it. They said that this one is able to use computers just as well as a normal human. Maybe not a pro, but it can navigate complex spreadsheets and filling out multi-step web forms. If you think about it, I have a use case off the top of my head that could benefit from that. Where let's say you have a job application. We know these job applications are very competitive right now, and filling out applications are a very repetitive task. Imagine having Sonnet 4.6 be able to fill out your own application using data that you fed it, documents, and even sell you better than you could sell yourself, essentially. And then, of course, they talk about how they improve safety because, of course, when you're using computer use, which is basically Sonnet 4.6 or any type of AI, essentially using a computer like we use it, navigating the mouse, clicking into fields, typing into fields, going to the next field, going to different tabs, going to different websites. That's kind of what they're testing, and that's what Claude 4.6 is really good at. Now we get to the evaluation part, and we see that we have all the models pretty much here. They still don't have 5.3 on here, which is interesting, but we see that Opus 4.6 and 4.5 are on here, and they are good at their own individual things, but we don't want it to overshine Sonnet 4.6, which we see down here that Sonnet 4.6 actually does a good job at agentic financial analysis, as well as it does really good at office tasks, which we just talked about. Not only does it do really good, it actually beats out Opus 4.5 and 4.6 in those benchmarks. Basically, there's a little bit of glaze here. It talks about how 4.6 Sonnet is preferred over 4.5 70% of the time. It's a newer model. You would think people prefer the newer model better. That's not always the case. We've seen things like with ChatGPT, when they release newer models, it may be better at math and science or other improvements, but it's not necessarily better overall. Some people do like older models like writing styles, or maybe even their coding styles, or maybe even how it talked to you and had more human level expressions or communication styles instead of it being robotic. Do you know if you did anything with ChatGPT, they have those dashes in, and that's like a dead giveaway when it comes to creating anything with ChatGPT. You have to prompt it to make sure it doesn't do that and it writes in more plain normal English. And this is another one. They talk about the vending bench arena, where we see down here that Sonnet 4.6 actually outperformed Sonnet 4.5. They go into how it actually did it. They say Sonnet's 4.6 1 million token context window is enough to hold an entire code base. Like I said, imagine having one book and then having another AI model be able to handle a whole trilogy or a group of books. Lengthy contracts or dozens of research papers in a single request. More importantly, Sonnet 4.6 reasons effectively across all that context that can make it much better at long horizon planning. They said they saw this particularly in the vending bench evaluation, which is how well a model can run a simulated business over time, and which includes an element of competition with different AI models facing off against each other to make the biggest profit. And so what Sonnet 4.6 actually did was it invested heavily in the first 10 simulated months, and then spending significantly more later on, so that it doubled down basically on what was working and what wasn't. And that's what we see here with the two charts, is the spending here, and then it takes off later on when it doubled down. So it doubled down on what worked and what didn't work out. Things to note is that Sonnet 4.6 has both adaptive thinking and extended thinking, as well as context compaction, which automatically summarizes older contexts as conversation approach limits increases, affecting context limit. Basically what that means is these new Claude models, once you use them, they kind of summarize the old conversations so that in the future it can summarize information, come back to it, but it doesn't have to hold all that in that context. So instead of every time you have to find an answer to a question, it doesn't have to reread all 3 or 5 books you fed it. It kind of summarizes the information, and it can just go to the summary instead of having to reread every book every time you want to answer a question, which saves a lot of tokens. Basically, Claude Sonnet 4.6 is really good, but seems like they're really good in specific places and specific use cases. Probably doing a follow-up on this on which use cases you should be using Claude 4.6 Sonnet and which you shouldn't. There's also a lot of open source models right now that are really good in certain areas and could be a lot cheaper. Want to keep up to date with the latest and greatest AI news? You should definitely like and subscribe. That being said, your boy Dexter out.